Base sa balitang kumakalat, binigyan na ang China ng ultimatum ng US. Babae sa babae ang labanan. Dahil kung ang China sinabing papalayasin daw tayo sa WPS, ang Amerika sinabing papalayasin din daw nilang China. Ayon kay US Ambassador Mary Kay Carlson, binabalaan niya si Mao Ning sa kanyang kahibangan matapos sabihin daw ng China, tuta daw tayo ng US, siguradong iiwan din kayo niyan sa gera. Pero matapang na binalaan ng US ang China, natatakot lang kayo sa US, babalang tutulong talaga kami sa gera.
It's very important to have to be in a neighborhood where you can rely on your neighbors and where people respect the rules. They are not upon in a great power game. They have their own agenda that is important to the people of the Philippines. So yes, China is a factor, but the US-Philippine relationship certainly stands on its own. We have a long and important relationship with the Philippines that had absolutely nothing to do with China. The chorus against threats to peace and stability in the South China Sea and the West Philippine Sea is growing louder and stronger each day. We are urging the PRC to cease harassment of Philippine vessels lawfully operating in the Philippine exclusive economic zones, to halt its disruption to states' sovereign rights to explore, utilize, conserve, and manage natural resources in their own EEZs, and to end interference with the freedoms of navigation and overflight of all states lawfully operation, not only in this region but around the world.
Pero dahil sa takot ni Mao Ning, nanawagan siya sa Amerikang wag na daw sa Pilipinas magpadala ng tulong matapos balaan ng ambasador ng Amerika si Mao Ning. Wag na daw anya natin silang iprovoke na wala bigla ang tapang nitong si Mao Ning.
The root cause of the current tense situation on Renai Reef is that the Philippine side has turned its back on the consensus reached with China, challenging China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The United States side should stop tolerating and supporting the Philippines' provocations and take practical actions to safeguard peace and stability in the South China Sea.
Pero sabi ng Chinese-Filipino businessmen, handa raw silang mamagitan sa isyu. Wag lang daw tayong magkagulo dyan sa WPS. Isang maling calculation lang daw kasi dyan ng mga Chinese at Pinoy. Siguradong sasabog daw ang gulo dyan sa WPS. Pero tila nanakot pa ang mga businessman sa China. Hindi daw natin kayang mabuhay sa gulo pag nakaaway natin sila sa WPS.
When people are not talking and there is misunderstanding, baka may konting miscalculation ang tawag diyan, magpatayan na diyan, di ba? Di ba? One mistake, one miscalculations, gulo na yan. Kaya iwasan natin yung mga confrontation na yan. Importante rito, anong pwede gawin natin together with China so that we can move forward. That's the bottom line. Kasi kami open eh. Kaya the Chinese embassy can talk to us freely without me condemning or becoming an enemy. Parang nag-uusap tayo, hindi katalo eh. Sa Tagalog, hindi naman tayo katalo. So I can talk to them freely. I can bring you together, but I cannot speak on your behalf, neither can I speak on his behalf.
Pero speaking of di daw natin kayang mabuhay pag nakagera natin China sa WPS, binalaan din ang China ng US top official na wag daw gagawa ng gulo sa WPS dahil siguradong maguguho daw ang buhay ng China pag kinanti nito mga kalyado ng Amerika sa WPS.
It's why we stand with the Philippines and stand by our ironclad defense commitments, including under the Mutual Defense Treaty. Article 4 extends to armed attacks on the Filipino Armed Forces, public vessels, aircraft, including those of its Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea. Most important is we stand together in our determination to uphold international law for the Philippines, for everyone else, against any provocative actions. We have a shared concern about the PRC's actions that threaten our common vision for a free, open Indo-Pacific, including in the South China Sea and in the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Repeated violations of international law and the rights of the Philippines, water cannons, blocking maneuvers, close shadowing, other dangerous operations. These waterways are critical to the Philippines, to its security, to its economy, but they're also critical to the interests of the region the United States, and the world. It's why we stand with the Philippines and stand by our ironclad defense commitments, including under the Mutual Defense Treaty. Article 4 extends to arm attacks on the Filipino Armed Forces, public vessels, aircraft, including those of its Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea. Most important is we stand together in our determination to uphold international law for the Philippines, for everyone else, against any provocative actions. But also by our commitment to doing more together in the interests of both of our countries. The alliance has never been stronger, but we not only have to sustain that, we have to continue to accelerate the momentum. The Philippines is our oldest ally in the Indo-Pacific, more than 70 years working together to promote peace and security in the region. The EDCA expansion is strengthening that further, creating new locations for access to work together on humanitarian assistance, on disaster relief, including, for example, relief after the recent typhoons, and as well as creating greater interoperability, modernizing our military with real and important benefits for local communities. As the Foreign Secretary mentioned, we're also deepening our cooperation with partners who share this commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. The trilateral with Japan is a very important platform for building even greater stability and deepening peace. Just over the past year, our governments have increased cooperation on a whole host of shared priorities, not only security, but economic cooperation, humanitarian assistance, critical infrastructure. We've had trilateral meetings over the past year to include meetings between myself, Ricky, and our Japanese counterpart, the Vice President, President Marcos, and Prime Minister Kishida, National Security Advisor Sullivan and his counterparts. And this week in Tokyo, Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell will be meeting with his counterparts. All of this leading to the summit meeting between President Biden, President Marcos, Prime Minister Kishida at the White House on April 11th, the first trilateral leaders summit with the United States, the Philippines, and Japan. We're constantly expanding this partnership to meet bigger challenges, to seize bigger opportunities, including semiconductors, and you heard the Foreign Secretary reference that. I had a chance today to visit the Amcor facility, which is quite remarkable. But if you look at what the Philippines is doing in this area, it's already extraordinary. The Philippines has about 20% of the global market for assembly, for testing, for packaging. And of course, it's a big part of the Philippines economy, representing about 12% of its GDP. But we want to support Filipino manufacturing, decrease dependencies, strengthen global supply chains. In November, we launched a partnership under the CHIPS and Science Act to explore opportunities to grow and to diversify semiconductor supply chains. During the mission that Secretary Mundo recently conducted very successfully, this presidential trade mission last week, we announced plans to invest an additional $1 billion in the Filipino tech sector and to double the number of semiconductor factories here in the Philippines. And we're exploring, as you heard, opportunities through the growth and investment, global investment and infrastructure program. Transformative investments in infrastructure that could have a major benefit for the semiconductor industry by addressing barriers to investment, including some of the logistics and energy costs. We're assessing additional priority areas for investment: clean energy, transportation, logistics, warehousing, to increase food security, for example. And it's a partnership, I'll just say in conclusion, that is growing day by day in a variety of other areas as well, from cyberspace to artificial intelligence to clean energy to critical minerals to outer space. We very much appreciate the Philippines joining us in sponsoring a resolution at the United Nations on artificial intelligence, the first standalone resolution on AI focused on deploying AI for the benefit of sustainable development. We now have more than 75 co-sponsors. So it's a long way of saying we've already seen an extraordinary expansion in our partnership these last couple of years. Let me say a few things to that. First, I think the Philippines has been extremely successful in pursuing and asserting its rights under the law. And we've seen that And the world has seen that. The world has also seen the very actions that you described taken by China in violation of international law and Filipino rights. And the very visibility of those actions, I think, has provoked from a number of other countries clear statements in support of the Philippines and against these provocative actions that are a threat to peace, security, freedom of navigation, and basic rights under international law. So in and of itself, I think the actions that China's undertaken have produced a reaction, not just from the Philippines, but from a number of other countries. In terms of what we're doing, we're engaged in intense diplomacy, as is the Philippines, so that countries come together, or even individually, to reaffirm international law, to reaffirm the rights that everyone is entitled to. That's important. Second, we have, for many years, made major investments in the capacity of the Philippines. Those investments continue, both in its maritime capacity, but also more broadly in its economic capacity, because its economic strength and resilience is probably the most important factor in determining its long-term security. And I just described some of the things that we're looking at doing to carry that forward in even more effective ways. So I think the response really has been and continues to be a comprehensive one, so that the Philippines can be in the strongest possible position to affirm its rights, as it has been doing, and properly so.
Ngayon, ikaw, bilang Pilipino, ano ang masasabi mo at reaksyon sa balitang ito? Mag-iwan ka ng komento sa ibaba at atin pong babasahin isa-isa.